Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Manny here once again. Welcome back to another WNBA lineup advice video for you guys here at DFS Zone. And before I get started, like always, guys, I appreciate it really greatly if you'll drop a like on the video. It definitely helps my ranking and all the algorithms and all that other stuff that goes on the internet. So it definitely helps my channel. And if you have not, as of yet, subscribe to the channel as of yet, please do so down below, and do not forget to put on your post notifications. This way you don't miss any of my new uploads as well as any live shows. Got a lot of stuff coming this way at DFS Zone. We got NFL coming up, we got NBA in October. Definitely want to have those post notifications on, so this way you do not miss anything at all. With that being said, today is Tuesday, August the 28th, 2018. Back with the WNBA playoffs, game 2 for both of these for these 4 teams in the 5-game series. Washington is at Atlanta, Phoenix at Seattle. And before I even dive into it, just some news to share with you guys. We'll have a live show today. Back with the live shows today. Live show today at 7 p.m. So come back and let's discuss the slate a little bit further. No, not too much of a first look for me. I really have a good idea of where I'm at as far as whom I like for these games today, as well as moving forward in the series. It's going to be a little bit more easier to at least get a gauge. The only difference is that, you know, there are going to be adjustments made from team to team every single game. So you got to bear that in mind when you're making these decisions with these lineups. But I feel pretty good about who I have there. But we'll still discuss, and I'll still look over a few things more just to see where there might be some value down the line, especially later by the end of the day. But pretty much this is the playoffs, ladies and gentlemen, and these girls are going to play massive minutes. It's, you know, again, it's critical. Atlanta needs a win today, as well as Phoenix. So those ladies are going to ball their butts off today. So keep that in mind. Other than that, the other news I have is I did another 12-player tournament. I narrowed it down from 20 because I can't seem to get 20 players to come in. I get 300-400 viewers usually for my videos on the average, and I'm just not getting anybody to come in. None of the subscribers. I mean, we need 20 people, but I narrowed it down to 12 today. So it's a 12-player tournament. I think we have 3 or 4 people who already signed up for it. $2 entry, top 3. Take the cash. Not a big tournament. It's very, very simple, very easy. Only like $18 for first place or something like that. But it's something. The only thing I'm trying to do is just keep building the channel up, the community, and keeping it as a very friendly place for everyone to come to and play DFS. I also am thinking of doing an NFL like league. And it could be for free. It could be for a $2 entry every Sunday for 16 weeks of the season, you know, the 16-game season. And I'm looking at either $2 free, a free league, or $2 every week entry, commitment of 20 players, or $5 or 10. If we go to $2, it's 18, 11, and 7 for the top 3 every week. If we go to $5 per entry, it's $45 to the winner every week for first place, 28 for second, and 17 for third. And if we were to jump it up to $10 a week, if you guys, we got 20 players that want to do that, then it's a chance for for one player possibly, you know, to win $90 a week, which is nice. It's a nice little bankroll, so you can build your bankroll up. It's perfect for those who don't have a whole lot of bankroll. All right, so 20 game, you know, among the community here at DFS Zone, I think it's not 20 players. I don't think that's something that, you know, I think that's something that will be good for those who really need to build up their bankroll. So keep that in mind. Anybody interested in that, you know, comment down below or go to our Facebook group, okay, at DFS Zone, and basically just let me know what you think. What I'm also thinking is every week there'll be a winner, and they'll take that cash. But what I want to do is I want to give back to the community. So at the end of the season, I'm willing to give out 2 prizes. Don't know exactly what that is right now, but by the time the season is over for the NFL, which is late December, I will have an idea for sure by then. But I will figure the top 2, and I'm thinking doing something where total points, meaning whatever you score every single week, I'll tally that, I'll keep it, and I'll keep a standings, and I'll post it on the videos on who's in first, who's in second, who's in the top 10 or whatever. And then everybody will have an idea where they're at. And of course, you should take your own tallies and keep your own scores as well. But I'll be able to see that because I'm going to be in the tournament as well as the commissioner. So I'm going to be able to see the scores every week of whom scored what. So whoever is the top 2 at the end of the year after the 16-game season, I'm thinking something like that. unless somebody has another idea. Maybe I could do 10 points for first for every week, 8 points for second, something like that, and then decrease the point totals as we go down, and then tally that up every week, something like that. But I think the easiest way is just calculate everybody's points. So if anybody is interested in that, and they think that's a great idea, just again comment down below, let me know. All right, other than that, live show tonight, let's just dive into the actual slate. So Washington and Atlanta, we have implied totals of 164 with Washington favored on the road by 2. These teams have played each other already 4 times. As we all know, we have discussed it. I'm not going to tell you records because we're in the playoffs. But in the 4 games, Atlanta has been able to put up on Washington only 43.5 points in the front court and 40.5 points in the backcourt. So they definitely have been really much in control of the backcourt play against Washington, which I had stated in game 1. I like the Atlanta backcourt better, a little more versatile as far as different types of talent, what they bring to the floor. And they have been able to neutralize Kristi Tolliver, which I got a feeling it's going to be really tough for Kristi, but she's a gamer, and I will not at all be shocked if she had a big game at any point in this series. But I still like the Atlanta guards. When it comes to Atlanta 40 have given up 60 points to the front court of Washington during the 4 games they have played this year, including that one first game of the playoffs, and 24.5 they have neutralized the backcourt a little bit, in which we already see with Kristi Tolliver not shooting as well. So I definitely, going into game 1, I said I kind of like the Washington front court, the athleticism of Deladon and Sanders, as opposed to they don't have McCoughtry Atlanta, which I love Atlanta. I've said it all year long. I think they have one of the best front courts, but that's with McCoughtry in there. This is a tough matchup for them, and this is why I still lean towards Washington with Deladon and Sanders, as opposed to Breland, who's not a bad ball player. Don't have a huge upside. She's not going to get you 45, 50 on a consistent basis. She's going to need to do that in these next couple of games if Atlanta's going to stay in the series. Atlanta really needs a win here tonight. They don't want to go down 2-0 and in a brink of elimination going into Washington, but if they don't win tonight, that's what's going to actually happen. And then, of course, so anyway, let's go to the players here. So Kristi Tolliver, again, guys, everybody's in play. Ladies and gentlemen, every player is in play because all these players are playing top-notch minutes. This is the playoffs. So Kristi Tolliver is going to get a ton of minutes. It's just a matter of, does Washington now figure out a way to get her involved in this game where she is not being as neutralized defensively? And that's the only difference that I can tell you. That's the only tip I can say, is that we don't know if there's any changes in the coaching as far as how they're going to utilize Kristi or how Atlanta is going to neutralize Kristi. It could all change, all right? But Kristi Tolliver is going to be shut down, which she has been in 4 games against this team. I don't see them changing that. I would think that the best play here is to fade Kristi, but she is in play. She's capable of getting you 35, 40, but she is not. It's going to be a tough matchup for her in this series. She's only been averaging like 20 or so in the 4 games, and her shooting field goal percentage has been horrific. So I'm going to bypass and fade Tolliver again today. I think Tiffany Hayes, nice play. She doesn't have tremendous upside. We've discussed that over and over again here at DFS Zone, but she is consistent. 25, possibly 28, maybe as high as 30. So I could see that. I could see her getting close to value. I don't think she'll hit exactly value. The difference here, the thing here with Atlanta is that what I like is that they have all these multiple players. Like I mentioned in game 1, I kind of like Hayes and Sykes because they're the slashers. They're the aggressive girls. They're willing to drive to the basket. They can create their shot. They're very, very tough in that aspect. But Bentley and girls like Bentley and Montgomery, they like to shoot from the perimeter and shoot from 3. And if any of those girls get hot, it could be very dangerous, So I kind of lean towards a GPP play with either Bentley or Montgomery. And Bentley had the best game the other day, but she only put up 19. She put up 19 floor points, which is excellent, but she didn't do anything else as far as putting up fantasy points. And that is a problem. We need her to do a number of other little things so we can get those fantasy points. I think Montgomery is still the best play as far as, a GPP play. So Sykes and Hayes are in play for me. I mean, 42% field goal percentage. She is struggling a little bit, Tiffany, at home from three-point range, 24%, but she's shooting well from the free throw line, 82%. In the 4 games against Washington, she's averaging 45% field goal percentage, 33% from three, and 83% from the free throw line, which is excellent, and averaging about 26 fantasy points per game. So that's about average for her. She's slightly below her average of 28, but she's near it. Okay, so I think she's consistent enough to be a good cash play for you guys who play cash. But GPP, tough one. But again, a slate like this, 2 games, she's in play. I think she's a fine play. Brittney Sykes, $6,200, $800 cheaper. Could be a play. You know, I'm gonna, like I said in game 1, I favor Hayes still over the 2 that are similar in style in a way. I kind of like Tiffany Hayes better. But Brittney Sykes is definitely someone in play. I'm actually more interested in Bentley, Atkins for Washington, as well as Montgomery. Alex Bentley had a great game the other day. You know, I mean, again, she didn't do a whole lot of anything else. She put up 23.6 in 25 minutes, nearly 1 fantasy point per minute, but got 19 points from the floor, which is excellent. Any given day, 19 points you get out of a player is awesome, but didn't do much of anything else. There was no steals, there was no blocks, there was not enough assists, you know, where she averages usually more 5 or 6 assists. She only got 2. And the rebounds, she didn't rebound enough. Got only 3. So, I mean, if she does a little bit more, it'll be great. She's still a good play at 30. You know, you need 30 for that price, and she's averaging 18. It is a little high. We know that on FanDuel. It's only a 2-game slate. It is the playoffs. But again, she put up 23.6 the other day, which is pretty good. She's shooting at home 40% from the floor and 33% from 3, averaging about 20 fantasy points. And against Washington, she's put up so-so numbers, not that great. She did have a good game here. Hopefully she'll follow up with another one. I think today is going to be Montgomery's day because Montgomery's like every other game. She is good. So in the 4 games against this team, 31% field goal percentage, 27% from 3, and only averaging about 12 fantasy points and usually 17, like 17, 18 minutes. But she's doing 25 as of late. She's been putting up massive minutes. So who knows? Alex Bentley is someone definitely to consider. Ariel Atkins, I kind of like Atkins as well at 5,900. She's another one that has some decent upside, probably more upside than Bentley in my opinion. 5,900. She's $100 cheaper, can get you 35 plus. She's been there. She's gotten 40. She's gotten 30 before. I think she's good for 30, for 6 or 7x easy if she gets the shots. If she takes some shots. She did score 15 points in game 1 from the floor, but not enough from everything else. And this is where we need to see a little bit of improvement. But 25 minutes, 22 fantasy points, not too bad. See similar numbers to Ms. Bentley. But I think she has a little bit of better upside. And her numbers look a little bit better against the opponent. She's 40% on the road, 30% from 3, 79% from the free throw line. And against Atlanta in 4 games, 41% field goal percentage and 33% from 3, which is definitely a lot better than Alex Bentley. 100% from the free throw line, 5 out of 5 in that category, and averaging 16 to almost 17 fantasy points. So Ariel AA, definitely someone to consider here as far as a Washington player. Montgomery is my next pick. I definitely like Montgomery here still again. I'm going to always go with her because she has that tremendous upside. And not only that, she plays massive minutes. And you need upside and you need minutes in the playoffs for an opportunity to hopefully have a big game. And as you can see here, she seems to have like this pattern where the last 5 or 6 games, she's like at big numbers and then a dull game and then another big game and then a dull game. And looking at her numbers from the other day, if I go here on my fantasy cruncher, she took up quite a bit of shots. She took 19 shots. She just did not shoot with a good field goal percentage. 3 of 11 from the floor and 2 of 8 from 3. It's not going to get it done. Only 8 points from the floor and only 2 assists and 3 total rebounds. She needs to do more. So if she's able to do some more, Montgomery will be a fine play here. 5,700. You pretty much, she against Washington has had a 34% field goal percentage and 35% from 3, shooting better from 3 than from the floor, averaging about 21 fantasy points per game. She needs this. She has 40-point upside. And she's playing massive minutes, and she takes massive shots. I say she's definitely a great GPP player, 5,700. Natasha Cloud will be my the next player I would definitely consider here in this matchup. 5,600, 27. I did tell you guys that she was a fine, possible good play in the last game, and she definitely came up fairly well here. 28 in 35 minutes, 13, 5, and 6, decent lines. And if they're going to neutralize Tolliver, then Natasha Cloud is going to have a big game. It's the only way. If she doesn't score these 13 points the other day, Washington will not actually be in a position to win. I mean, she was critical in that game. So Natasha Cloud, like I said, 24 plus in the last few games, 2 straight games at 24 and 28. I love those numbers. All right. And then, of course, that 28 spot against her, shooting 42% from the floor away from Washington and 43% from 3, averaging about 21 fantasy points per game. And in the 4 games against Atlanta, her numbers have been excellent. 45% from the floor, 15 of 33, 60% from 3 at 9 out of 15 shots, and hasn't missed a free throw yet. Only, small sample, 2 foul shots, but hit them both, averaging nearly 22 fantasy points per game. So she is definitely averaging 2 points higher than her average against this team and shooting spectacular. So Natasha Cloud is definitely someone to consider here at 5,600. After that, I mean, Ruffin Pratt and Monique Curry are still in play. Curry didn't play any minutes the other day. So surprisingly, she may be one that might get 10, 15 minutes today. It's hard to gauge. But the longest this game is close and they're going to battle like this, you're going to have to focus on those key players on these games. And you're going to have to find value somehow. And I think the value is going to come in this game. And this game is going to come here in the bottom tier of the forwards. But we'll move on now to the forwards. We got Della Don. We know she's in play. She's a hottie. She's a cutie. She's a 5. She's a stud. And she's a 5-tool player for this team. Hands down. 8,300. You need 42. She's averaging 39. She put up a 50 spot in the first game. 32 massive points from the floor. 13 rebounds. 1 assist. Surprisingly, only 1 assist. 1 steal. But she's capable of doing it all, She's capable of doing it all. She has 50-point upside, as you can see. She could definitely get 55 or better. She's had 36 plus, which is close to her average, in 5 of 6 out of the last 7 games or so. I mean, she's been really explosive. 51% away from Washington from the floor, 43% from 3, 89% free throw shooting, and averaging about 42 fantasy points per game away from Washington, away from home, which is about 3 points higher than her average. So very, very good numbers there. And then against Atlanta in 4 games, 41% shooting from the floor, which is 2% less than average. 41% from 3, which is excellent. Okay, excellent. And 97% from the free throw line, which is even better. So she's doing very, very good. 48.3 fantasy points per game, which is almost 9 points above her average. So she is playing excellent ball against this team, and she's going to continue to unless Atlanta makes some adjustments and find a way to neutralize her. They may have to try to double team her, trap her. They're going to have to definitely put some press on her if they're going to have any chance up front. But other than that, I mean, she's capable of hitting the 3, free throw shooting. She could hit from the perimeter. She can drive to the basket. She can rebound. She can pass. She can block. She can steal. She does it all. So, I mean, Della Don, definitely a fine play. Latoya Sanders in play for me as well, 7,500. You need about 37, and she's averaging 26. She did put up pretty much a 31 spot in 32 minutes. She's going to be close. She's like Bonner and some of these other girls, capable of getting 1 fantasy point per minute. And you know how much I love that here at DFS Zone. 1 fantasy point per minute. Players are definitely excellent plays. She is definitely a good cash play for today. She's pretty steady. She's usually pretty consistent. Could get you 26 to 30 to 32 on a regular basis. And as you can see, she has 40 plus upside. She could get you 8x, maybe even 9x. So her numbers are spectacular against this team. As you can see here, 31 in the last game. She's shooting 60% from the floor and 86% from the free throw line, averaging 6 rebounds, 1.5 blocks, and 1.5 steals on the road this year. And versus Atlanta, shooting 59% from the field goal percentage and 100% from the free throw line, has not missed a shot. 9 out of 9 shots in the 4 games against this team when they put her on the foul line, averaging about 25.5, 26 fantasy points per game, which was pretty much around her average. Okay, but she does have that upside. I think she's in a favorable matchup. She's a little more physical than Breland is. Okay. So I believe, I still like her here at 7,500. Breland is $100 cheaper. Breland is in play as well. She doesn't have tremendous upside. She is good for 30, good for 25, 30, easy. Definitely a nice cash play. She's pretty consistent. in that area. 7,400, you need about 36, 37, maybe, and then she's at 28 average. Obviously, the number prices are always going to be a little higher here on FanDuel. But last game, sorry about that. But last game out, 31 spotty, as you can see here, pretty much in 27 minutes. That's more than 1 fantasy point per minute. The 4 blocks are critical. And again, you can have 6 points. She only got 6 points from the floor, but this is what I'm talking about, folks. When someone can go out and rebound, assist, and block, and steal, do all these little things here, those fantasy point totals go up, and we want to see that. And she's consistent with blocking, so this is where this is her specialty. They're definitely Atlanta really missing McCoughtry. You know, it's just a shame. You know, when she went down, I really felt bad for this team. They are a good team with McCoughtry. They're even a better team, and obviously this is going to be a rough go for them in this series against Washington. But if they're going to have any chance of winning tonight, Ms. Breland is going to have to put up more than 35. She's going to have one of these 40 or 45-point games, fantasy point games. She definitely needs to score more from the floor. So we'll see how that goes for her today. But again, she's definitely someone to consider. She shoots 40%. She shoots better, as far as my research, she shoots better away than at home. But she is shooting 40% field goal percentage at home and 77% from the free throw line, averaging 8 rebounds, 2 blocks, and 1.5 assists per game. 1.5 steals per game. And those are the specialties. The rebounding, the blocking, and the steal. That's where I have my check mark right there. That's why I'm letting you guys know this. 8 rebounds per game and 2 blocks and 1.5 steals is very, very good defense. Okay, versus Washington, look at these numbers. 41% field goal percentage. She even shooting better free throw against Washington. 86% free throw percentage. 8 rebounds, pretty much around her average away from home. At home. And 3.5 blocks per game. I mean, that's incredible. 3.5 blocks on average against Washington in 4 games. So each game, she's gotten 3.5 blocks. Pretty much 3 blocks a game. 32 fantasy points. That is actually 4 points higher than her average. So she is doing well against Washington, and she's going to need to do better than what she's been averaging against Washington for them to have a opportunity to win today. Elizabeth Williams in play as well, 6,900. You cannot pass up on Elizabeth Williams. She is much cheaper than all the girls I just mentioned, and she has 40 to 45 point upside. She's shown 53 here, 40 here. In the last game against Washington, she's great. 34 you need pretty much for that price. Is pretty high still again for her, but she's averaging 25. She can get you 40 plus, like I mentioned. At home, she's shooting 60% from the floor and 59% from the free throw line, which is her weakness. She definitely does not shoot free throws very well. All right, but she's averaging 6 rebounds and 2 blocks and 1 steal on the average at home this year, and averaging 26, almost 27 fantasy points per game, which is 3 points higher than her average. Or let's say 2 points higher than her average. Not too bad at all. Versus Washington in 4 games, 69% field goal percentage, which is even higher than her average at home. And 67%, also 6-7 points higher than at home during the course of the season versus against Washington. And averaging 9 rebounds and 1.5 blocks. And close to 27 fantasy points, nearly 2 or 3 more points on average than than her average. So she's doing excellent. So again, she probably has the better upside than Breland. You know, she's shown it already. But again, Breland and her are going to have awesome games. On the bottom, so Breland's in play, Elizabeth is in play. If you want to definitely save $500, I think Elizabeth Williams is a fine play. If you couldn't get Sanders in there, definitely get Elizabeth Williams in the out of these 2 games here. I think Elizabeth Williams will be an excellent play. Down here at the bottom, I like, obviously, Ariel Powers. I mean, she didn't play a whole lot of minutes the other day. I don't know what's the deal with that. And you know what? I could understand. This is the playoffs, big games. A lot of these, the stud players and the starting players are going to play a lot of minutes. So Powers is someone that maybe I'll get back in the live show. Maybe I'll touch up a little bit more on her. Don't know about her today at the moment. I kind of like I like Hawkins. I liked her and Billings the other day, and I took Hawkins, and Hawkins played well. And Billings played just as well, too, when she got an opportunity. So I think these 2 here are definitely nice plays at 41 and 4. They both can get you 20 or better. So, I think that you can, hands down, I think they are definitely in play. 18 and 17 minutes, you cannot go wrong with that. That's more than 1 fantasy point per minute. I definitely love that. All right. And she's shooting pretty much 11 or better in 3 straight games, which is awesome. That's above her average by a considerable amount. 44% field goal percentage at home and 73% free throw percentage. averaging only about 9 fantasy points per game, but that's about 1 point higher than her average. Okay, so you got to look at that. That's a plus. Against Washington, she's shooting 50% from the floor, which is 6 points higher than her home average. And 67% free throw percentage is a little bit lower, but averaging 14 to almost 15 fantasy points per game against Washington. So her numbers have looked good against Washington. That leads me to, put a check mark next to her and look at it a little bit further and see if she is definitely a fine player. And right now at the moment, it looks like she is. That's 6 points higher than her average. So Monique Billings is definitely in play for me. Miss Hawkins as well. I like T-Hawk. I've mentioned her several times the last few times Washington has played. The minutes are there, anywhere between 11 as much as high as 16 or 20 minutes. Can get you 20. And, you can see she's very close to it if she gets sufficient minutes. She put up a 16 spot in 11 minutes the other day. That is fantastic work in 11 minutes. And it's all due to the rebounds. Obviously, she did put 11 points from the floor, so that's 1 point per minute, which is pretty nice. And we know she's capable of hitting the three. She's pretty decent from the three. So, definitely someone to consider. So, Hawkins, 50% field goal percentage on the road this year, 38% from three, and 79.5%, pretty much almost close to 80 from the free throw line. Averaging about 14 fantasy points per game, which is about 1 point higher than average. And then versus Atlanta, she's put up 45% field goal percentage, 27%, which is below average on threes, and 11 fantasy points, which is also below average. But I still like the way she played the other day, and I like the way that she's played in the last 4 games and the minutes that she's been getting. So she is someone that's going to get some minutes. It's all a matter of she's going to get 11, 12, 15, 16, or they may need her for 20. So I like the fact that she's being utilized, and that's the most important thing here in a playoff stretch. Is someone going to be utilized at all? So T-Hawk and Billings, definitely the lower tier plays here for sure. Let's move over to Phoenix and Seattle. We got Bonner. Well, first things first, implied totals 174 for this game. Obviously the highest scoring game of the night. And Seattle at home favored by 5. These teams have played each other several times, 4 games this year, and these are the totals. Phoenix gave up 54 points per game to the front court of Seattle and 36.5, points to the guards, which is quite a bit. And then Seattle, 44.5 points per game to the front court, which is just absolutely great. That leads you to believe that definitely you should focus on Seattle's front court, which I said the first game around, and guards 32 points per game given up to guards. So that's where they stand now after 4 games. Bonner definitely in play. So definitely with those numbers we just discussed right now, obviously the guard play is good on both sides. You could definitely get one player from both sides. And obviously I was all over Jewel Lloyd the other day, and she had a great game. And I also told you that I wasn't going to be away from DeWanna Bonner, and she had a great game. And it's no different today, until they make some sort of corrections or they make some sort of changes defensively on how they handle Bonner or Phoenix handling Lloyd. I'm going to still be banking on Lloyd and Bonner as far as the guards play in this actual game. But Bonner coming in, man, she's been incredible, man. She has been like the MVP of this team. The steady play of her has been just incredible. This is an incredible run by her. It's obvious that she's going to play her heart out, and she's going to play as hard as she can and try to get this team to the finals. So Phoenix is not out of this series yet. They need a win here definitely today, and she's been taking massive shots, and she's going to need to take massive shots again. But Bonner, 51, 51, and 49 in the last 3 games. That is just absolutely lights out. Shooting away from Phoenix, 48% from the floor, 34% from 3. And against Seattle, she's averaging 46% from the field goal percentage. And she is definitely below average on her 3-point shooting, only 22%. Really bad, 4 of 18. But again, she did have an excellent game here. She hit some threes there, so that average is definitely going to change if she continues to shoot this way. And until they stop her, like I said to you guys before, until somebody neutralize her, any team, I'm going to ride DeWanna Bonner. That's just, there's no if and buts about that. Just take Bonner and give it a shot, Diana Taurasi, obviously in play as well. She's averaging pretty much 33. 7,900. You need about 39 to cover that, almost 40, 39 pretty much. She's averaging 34. She did get a 37 and 34. Granted, DeWanna Taurasi is going to be solid any given day. She's got a great floor. You're going to get 25, 26 from her. I definitely see her getting 30 or better easily in this whole series as long as the series goes. She is capable of getting you 50 plus. We all know that. She is that dangerous. Obviously, Bonner is the better play for $100 more, but Taurasi is definitely in play here. 46% away from Phoenix from the floor and 42% from three, having a 94%. You can't get on the foul line, and she's aggressive, as we all know, so she definitely gets her free throws. 94% free throw percentage. Against Seattle in 4 games this year, 47% shooting, 41% from three, 94% from the free throw line. It's just incredible. Her numbers have been great. Absolutely great. 32 point average against this team this year. And we go over here, man, I'm just going to share with you. DeWanna Taurasi, she takes massive shots. 8 of 17 in game 1 and 4 of 10. That is nuts. She took 23 shots. That's nothing. Bonner, 8 and 5. She took 23 as well, pretty much. 23 shots each. I mean, these girls are going to shoot the rock. So, you just decide who you think is the one that you want to go with more. Right now, at the moment, Bonner is the hotter player. There's no doubt, the most consistent. Both of them are good cash plays, in my opinion, for today. So if you're a cash player, definitely you can lock in one of these two. But only $100 difference, not much. I will go with Bonner. Again, Taurasi can have a massive game. If they neutralize Bonner, then Taurasi is going to have the big game. That's the biggest problem, is that if you neutralize any one of these two, then you got to deal with Griner. Griner is the one that has the tougher matchup. So that's why I favor Seattle in the front court easily. But in the back, all right, so we got Taurasi and Bonner both in play. I love Bonner better. Sue Bird and Lloyd are both in play. They're both excellent. Sue Bird had a great game the other day. Okay, yeah, 34, you need pretty much 25. I mean, you need about 34, at 6,800, and she's averaging about 25. She put up a 38 pretty much in 32 minutes. Awesome game. 10 points, 4 rebounds, 10 assists, and 3 steals. She was lights out. Good job, Sue Bird. She's definitely in play, guys. No doubt about it. Shooting 47% from the floor, 43% from three, 87% from the free throw line. And against Phoenix in 4 games, 45%. Field goal percentage, 35% from three, shooting 6 of 17 from there, and averaging nearly 23 fantasy points, which is 1 fantasy point less than her average. She's capable of getting you about 35 to 38. Okay, she has that decent enough upside. As you can see, she did get 38 pretty much in the last game. Definitely like Sue Bird there. I love Jewel Lloyd more at $100 cheaper. Okay, which I had Miss Lloyd in the first game, 6,700. You pretty much need 34 from her, and she's averaging 29. That's not too far off. She put up a 38 spot as well. 37 minutes, more than 1 fantasy point per minute for both ladies. Points, 23 from the floor, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block. 2 turnovers only. Not too bad. Prefer her not to get any turnovers. But Jewel Lloyd is definitely in play. Okay. 47% shooting percentage, 38% from 3. 90% from the free throw line versus Phoenix in 4 games. 52.5% from the floor and 55% from 3 with an 89% free throw percentage. That's incredible, averaging about 32 fantasy points per game. So, I mean, she has been excellent. She's definitely had Phoenix's number. And it's tough because these girls are scrappy and they're pretty quick. And they're perfect matchups for Taurasi. These girls go up and down the floor. It's very important to have those pace guards, and these girls are definitely it. And these are 2 teams that they use their guards a lot of minutes all year long. These are they barely ever do a lot of rotation there. So Sue Bird and Jewel Lloyd will get massive minutes, and I think they're definitely excellent plays, and they're a lot cheaper than Taurasi and Bonner. All right, coming down here a little lower, Brienne January is someone I mentioned in the last game. I'm not on Talbert. But January being $1,300 cheaper, I think January is still a fine play. She gets more than enough minutes. She gets 30-plus minutes. She's still getting 31 or better over the last few games. We just need her to put up a few more baskets and hit some more threes. We know she's a good 3-point shooter when she gets the open looks. But January at 5,300, you need 27. She's averaging 15. She put up an 18 spot in the last game in 33 minutes. Not that impressive, but I mean, 5,300. You got to find somewhere, and some players with possible upside. She's capable of getting you in the high 20s. She could probably get you 30, but she needs to be able to bury some shots and take enough shots. Let's see how many shots she took in the last game. Where is she? January. Yeah, she took enough shots, 4 of 8 and 2 of 5. She just needs to bury them a little bit more. It would be nice to her to get a few more shots, but she gets a few more shots and she can at least assist the ball and get a couple more steals. She'll put those. She'll give us some more fantasy points. I think she's still definitely a nice little play. 42% field goal shooter on the road and 42% from 3, which is still excellent. I mean, that's really above average from the league as far as a road average. 78% free throw percentage and averaging about 16 fantasy points per game on the road this year against Seattle, shooting 41%, pretty much close to her away average, and shooting better, 46% versus Phoenix from 3, hitting 6 of 13 shots from there and averaging 87% from the free throw line, with an average of about 21.5 fantasy points per game. So she is definitely 6 points higher than her average as far as fantasy points versus Seattle. So definitely she is someone that I'm considering on the lower half here. Maybe Turner. I was a little bit on Whitecomb the other day, but she didn't get no time at all. But maybe Turner or Lonnie Mitchell may get some minutes. It could be possible value plays. I'm not too certain. I'm on those girls. We go to the forwards. Pretty much, obviously, Griner is in play, Stewart is in play, Howard is in play. Definitely the top 3 right there are in play. I'm obviously in favor of Seattle, Stewart, and Howard over Griner. Griner's definitely had to grind pretty much in this 4 games against this team. She did have 1 or 2 nice games, but she's going to have it a little bit tougher. I think Stewart and Howard are the better, safer bets, and they're better cash play as well as better GPP plays. Griner, we know she's capable of getting 50 or better. But she's been averaging really low numbers against this team. She comes in at 8,600, the top dog here as far as price. She needs about 43 to cover that price, and 40 is pretty much, round this off to about 40 average. She did put up a 32 spot in 32 minutes, which is 1 fantasy point per minute. We'll take that. Away from home, she's averaging 55% field goal percentage, 78% from the free throw line, and about 38.5, almost 39 fantasy points per game, which is pretty much close to her average, which is not too bad. Against Seattle in 4 games, averaging 55% field goal percentage, actually 53%, which is 2% lower than her away average, and 76% from the free throw line, also 2% below her average. But she's been averaging 3 blocks a game, which helps her with her fantasy points. But that's how fantasy points in the 4 games is averaging 41.5 fantasy points per game against Seattle, and it's obviously due to the blocks. And she did have 2 the other day as well, and she averages a couple of blocks a game. I mean, she's had some moments right here prior to that, 6 blocks, which helps with fantasy points. So she needs to have an explosive game, fantasy points and all. So we'll see what happens with Griner. But I definitely like Stewart a little bit better. She's $500 cheaper. Her numbers have been excellent. She's also the MVP of the league. She has 50-point upside. She's still cheap, man. 8,100 for me, that's cheap when she's averaging 42. At 81, you really need only like 40 or 41 to cover that price. And she's averaging 42. And she had a nice game the other day, 45, pretty much a 46 spot here in 36 minutes. So again, I'm all over Stewart, man. 52% field goal percentage at home, 43% from 3, and 80% from the free throw line, averaging 1.5 blocks per game at home during the course of this year, and 42.5 fantasy points per game, which is pretty much her average. Against Phoenix, she's averaging 43% field goal percentage, so definitely the field goal percentage is lower, but shooting the same from 3 at 43% from her average at home, and 93%, shooting 13% better from the free throw line than the 80% throughout the season at home, and averaging 10 rebounds per game against this team. So she's definitely had some big games against this team, and also averaging 1.5 blocks per game within all the 4 games they have played, and 41.5 fantasy points per game, nearly pretty much her average. So she's solid. She's a good cash play. She's a good core play for today as far as GPP as well. So I like Breanna Stewart, no doubt about it. Natasha Howard definitely in play as well, 7,300. You need 37. She's got 40, 42 plus upside. She can get you 42, 45 any given day. She's a good 1 fantasy point per minute player. She's a good cash play because she's pretty consistent. So if you're those cash players here, her home splits have been okay. 55% field goal percentage. Definitely the 3-point shooting is a little low, but she's not a big 3-point shooter. 29% from 3 at home, 78% from the free throw line. All right, she did put up the 28 spot here in 32 minutes. Pretty nice, decent game here against Phoenix in the last game out versus Phoenix in the 4 games this year. 53% field goal percentage. All right, 95% from the free throw line. We're not going to gauge her 3-point shooting because she's not a big 3-point shooter. All right, but she's been averaging 6 rebounds, 2.5 blocks in those games against Phoenix. 28 fantasy points per game, pretty much what she already put here in the last game. So she's good to be close to that average. She has the potential to get you 40. I definitely like Miss Sanders better than Howard today in the other game, but pretty much around the same price. But Natasha Howard definitely is a fine play here today as well. Miss Clark, definitely someone to consider as well. 5,200. Pretty much need about 26 from her. She's averaging 16. That's 10 points higher than her average, but to cover that price. But she is capable of getting there. She can get you 25, 26. She can definitely do that. She has shown that throughout a number of times this year that she's capable of getting 24 to 25, possibly 26. So I think she's not that bad in a bad spot here. 34 minutes in the last game, 20 fantasy points. And she's averaging at home 50% shooting from the floor, 47% from 3. Nearly 17.5 fantasy points per game, which is 1 fantasy point higher than her average for the year. Against Phoenix, the numbers have been even better. 54% field goal percentage, 69% from 3, and 100% from the free throw line. It's been on the free throw line 8 times and has hit all 8 shots, averaging 22.5, nearly 23 fantasy points per game. That's about 6 points or 7 points higher than her average. So I look at those, I put check marks. It looks pretty good. She's going to get minutes. She's one of the starters. So, I mean, I could see a 5,200, not a bad, in a 2-game slate like this, not a bad play with Miss Clark. Down here in the bottom end, I mean, Langhorne, Paris, these girls are in play. Robinson is in play. Obviously, Langhorne didn't get any time, I think, in the last game. Paris did get a few. They get very few minutes. She got 9, and she got 7. It's just tough to gauge these girls. I like Tiana Hawkins and Billings more in the other game for that price because they're pretty much a similar price, 39 and 42 for Langhorne. I'd rather take Billings at 4,100 or Hawkins at 4,000, and they're getting more minutes. Angel Robinson did get some minutes. She may be the cheapest value play of the day. If she gets 10 minutes or better, she may be a good play at 3,200. So it's definitely Angel Robinson is in play as a value. She'll be a decent GPP play. She can get you 15 minutes and get you 1 fantasy point per minute. And that's pretty much it. That's where I'm at, guys. I mean, remember later on, we'll be back with the 7 p.m. live show. Pretty much everybody I went through right now, pretty much those are the girls I think are the best plays, in my opinion, guys, ladies and gentlemen. So you do your due diligence as well. We'll discuss it later. If I see any value anywhere else after I look over everything one more time, I'll definitely let you guys know later. Other than that, man, drop a like on the video. I truly appreciate it. Like I said before, it helps with the rankings. It helps with the algorithms and all that on Google and YouTube as I continue to grow the channel and the community. And that's basically it, man. If you have not subscribed to the channel, you definitely are looking to do NFL and you're going to be playing NBA, definitely should subscribe and definitely put on your post notifications because I'll be doing videos. I actually will have a video out either later on today or tomorrow, possibly. I've been working on it. I haven't been able to edit or make the final decisions on it and then actually doing it and upload it. But there will be NFL strategies type of video to help out those who are new to NFL DFS. All right, so that'll be out hopefully by by tomorrow, Wednesday for sure. And then of course when the NFL season begins, I will be doing my weekly shows, and of course you will have your first look videos as well. So again, if you are new to the channel, subscribe, put yourself in a position to get this information. I will do everything I can to get you the best possible information so that you'll have the best possible success in building your lineups and having some and making some money. All right, guys, so I'll see you guys later on, man.